Well, good evening. I'm Robert A. Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. I'm a hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, timeline coach, published author. But tonight I want to talk about something that's going to be very pointed, and it might be hurt some people's feelings, but here's the thing. It's going to be straightforward and honest. I want to talk about how the ideologies are controlling this country, and people are locked in their ideologies and afraid to have a conversation about what will expand the country, because no ideology is perfect. And how does society actually influence your thinking, even in your personal growth? How do you allow society, the society training school system, play out in your daily life when it comes to expanding your life? How do we do that? And I have to admit that I have went through this and went into myself deeply on this, and I have done that. Well, something that's really opened me up is watching the ideologies and different things play out. But how is a country too stuck in one side, the left side, right side, school, education? We're so stuck in something having to tell us what to do, we're afraid to move forward. And that is something I'm opening myself up to, and this is a question I ask myself. I ask me, how is my traditional schooling, society trained, belief system, opinions, viewpoints happen to be right, my hidden and unrecognized limitations? The more we think about something and the more we're locked into something, the more blocked we are in seeing the inspiration in the innovation to move forward. But something I've really opened up to, because I started watching things really close, because I want to see where I feel good about things and where I feel I get locked and I feel kind of angered about it. And wherever I'm angered, that's my limitation. Whatever I feel good about, I expand of. So as I'm moving forward through this to understand that society and the political views of people, and we're so locked into the political sides of things, how is that locking the country up and afraid to move forward? Because no matter what is going on, no matter how dark it is, there's something enlightening about that. And whatever you're locked onto, how are you afraid to see the good in the other things? Because there's wisdom and innovation in everything. Because no ideology is right, no ideology is wrong, but together, people are the assets of the world. And how is it the people will expand us out of that? But something I've expanded into understanding, when I'm in a conversation and I hear I think and I know from the other person, I know the conversation's over, because they're locked into what they know, their viewpoints, opinions, and beliefs. And I was probably one of the worst about that. But I'm really freeing myself up to understand whatever is locking me up, that's a new avenue for me to travel. It's really about traveling the new avenues rather than staying where I've been all my life, because a right-wing or left-wing ideologies, they're all good, but where's the common ground for the people in the middle? And how has that locked this country up in where it is? But how is the country locked in our ancestral beliefs, viewpoints, and everything we do is still ancestrally attached? I don't even know if ancestrally is a word, but it is tonight. So how are we locked into the ancestors of ourselves? And how are we afraid to let go of history and write an autobiography of the now in our own lives and in the world? So as I open up to myself, and I can only really talk about myself, I've learned this because I have no idea what's going on in anybody's life, and I want no idea of what's going on in anybody's life, because I have enough stuff in here that'll take a couple lifetimes to get out. And everything I do now comes from here. I'm really in touch with my inner self, and that's where I can let go of being attached to whatever's going on. But I understand it's my individual innovations and inspirations that will expand the world. And if I'm listening to my own inspirations and internal stuff, I'm keeping my nose on my own business and not in everybody else's business. And that's the trouble with the world. Everybody's trying to run somebody else's life because it's easier to run and be involved in somebody else's life rather than be involved in my own life, because I have to do everything in my own life. So how do we stop ourselves from being involved in something else? And that's the question I've had to ask myself. Am I minding my own business, moving my own inspirational life forward? And that is what life really is about, is living internally free every day. And if I can let go of being caught up in the ideologies and other people's stuff, I ain't pulling a bullying bluff on myself. Because a low self-esteem comes from listening to others and hearing what others say about you. And if somebody's talking about you at the water cooler, that means your life is better than theirs. People gossip because of fear. And they're afraid to go where the person they're gossiping about, because life is going to deal us challenges and chaos, so we get in touch with who we are deep inside ourselves. But how is all the ideologies, the viewpoints, the political views of the world all on the surface? And that's keeping us blocked in going one way. So what's the deeper and the wisdom within everything we're doing to expand the world? Because I'm understanding one thing. It's going to be people, individual leaders, individual people that are going to expand us above the ideologies, the viewpoints that have kept us blocked in the same ancestral paths as we've been on. And if you look at the worldly landscape, since I was born, everything is basically the same. It's had different leaders, a little bit of difference, but we're still in the same quandaries as we've always been. This country's doing this country's doing this. Because the more anger, frustration, and warring factors going on out there, the higher the super silent society makes money. Where does the money go is where the ideologies flow from. And that is something that I've opened up to. And, you know, even though we think we have a president, it's actually corporate America, the bankers, and everything pushing the agenda of the country. What is one common denominator we've had in the world? Low wages, make business money, and if business is making money, everything is doing good. But businesses get their money from people. People are the assets of the world. It's individual wisdom, talent that the world is begging for. All the chaos in the world is asking for people to step forward and move it forward from the grassroots. No country has ever been started or expanded from the top down. Every country has been facilitated and participated in from the bottom up. And the spiritual people of the world, the coaches, the hypnotherapists, everybody that's on a spiritual path or any path that's putting forward a inspirational, innovative message to the world or an expression is expanding the world. And it's going to come from the grassroots. You, me, everybody on this show that's listened to this. This is where the world is asking us to move forward. Is cut out the ideologies and stop the viewpoints and having to be right. That was a big one for me. I had to expand out of, and if I ever get there, I'll let you know. But it's an everyday expansion. And that's what really opens me up, is to be a better person, more innovative and innocent in my aggressions and innovative in my expressions. Because the world is innocent. My life has been innocent of everything I blamed it for or felt shame of. It's my thinking, thoughts, viewpoints, opinions, and how I thought life should go. How is life just a voyage of temporary experiences to expand me? That's a question I had to ask myself. And you know, the more I try to hide from my inner stuff, the gunk and the funk I have inside me, the more the inner gunk is presented to me on the outside. So I've really expanded to understand whatever's on the outside has to come and be released, dissolved, and expanded out of from the inside. And that has taken my thinking and knowing about my life to understanding my life is a tutelage and a metaphor from everywhere to expand. But the ideologies, I posted something about I thought was pretty neat, and the next thing you know, I was in a fire. There was a whole bunch of stuff, and all I thought it was the person was showing some audacity to do what they were doing. But other people put their ideologies into there. And then I explained it to them, and they still kept their ideologies going. People think their way is the only way. And I've expanded to understand my way is only for me. And the way I show people the way, but I let go of thinking everything has to be my way. And that has taken a lot of the anger, the angst, and my ancestral anchors out of me. And that's where the world really has to let go, is of the ancestral anchors and our ancestral belief system, viewpoints, because we've tried to live the same way as basically on the ideologies and the political system and everything. Outside of computers and medicine, we've been trying to do everything basically the same way. And we're staying stuck inside the books that we read instead of using the books for a guide. And this is something I expanded into. The Bible, was that to teach us, or was that showing us wealth, success, and where we messed up in our lives? And that's what I look at books now, is when they talk about suffering, that's actually talking about me expanding out of that frame of mind and that mindset into an inspirational innovation. If you start reading books like a history, this is where what we have to let go of and expand, what does that do for you? And that is something I've really expanded of myself. Because history is what wrote to show us, but we take history as an absolute, and that's why we relive history. But I finally understand blame. Blame's got two meanings: being lousy at managing everything, or binded in a livid, asinine mind, using excuses in every phase of my life, because blame and shame are nothing but excuses. Opening that up really took out other people being at fault of my life. But if you listen to the media and stuff out there, they're telling you that it's somebody else's fault. Something I'm expanded of, and I really appreciate. I'm 100% responsible and 100% accountable for my life. Everything in it, good, bad, or indifferent. That takes the blame game out of it, and I don't feel no shame. And then I quit finding fault with what I've done, because it's done. And I took hindsight out of my life, because hindsight is just foresight, because you understand a new way. But using hindsight, you're still looking back. Foresight puts it out in front of you. Simple little words like that really expand you up as things and really open you out to see a better way. And that's something else. When you think you got a plan all made up and it's perfect, everything looks good, the outline, everything, at the end, ask this question: is there a better way? What that question does takes the attachment out, because you open your your inner communication to always have to be aware of what's going on to see if there is a better way. And that is something else. How is the world locked in? This is the only way. If you look at the economy and all the stuff in the world, they got it down. This is the only way. But what would we do if we all saw a better way to expand people's lives? Because we're here to expand the world, energize the world, and enterprise the world rather than change, heal, create the world. Because them there have locks and blocks inside you. And what energize, enterprise, expand, energize, enterprise, that opens the communication from the superconscious, subconscious, and the conscious without any blocks. And that's only different because there's no memories and there's no angst or anything can be involved with them words. And the words you use, if you feel them in your heart, are in here rather than here, they're going to be words that expand you. And the words I use may not be the words for you. It's really finding your own way, then showing the world a better way. That's what the world is. That's what everything is asking for, is for us to step forward in a grassroots, life-expanding motion to allow people a better way of life. Because we've been taught to be victims if something happens to us. And I taught myself well, but I was never a victim. I was an entrepreneur looking for a better way, but I took it as failure and never as a life-expanding experience. And something when chaos and things are happening, if this question, see how this question feels for you. Where's the wisdom? Where do I expand? And what's the highest outcome for me? Asking questions, open-ended questions, where it takes the anger, the angst, and the chaos out of it and makes it an experience, an enterprising experience, realizing that experience was executed especially for you to expand. And I want to thank everybody for being on the show. June, Richard, and Lisa. Thank you very much. I am Robert A. Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. I'm a hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, and I have my books are at howdiditeachmyselffear.com and also at amazon.com/author/Robert A. Wilson. And I write everything unpunctuated in first person, because what I discovered about unpunctuating writings and personal growth, the conscious, subconscious mind can't latch on to where to stop, and it opens up a flow, and it opens the communication between the self, the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. Thank you all for being here, and we will see you Thursday night, and I will talk about my book, Dissolving Pleasing Others, and may your week be as blessed as you are a blessing to the world.